Welcome.
Are you ready to thrive?
Of course you are. Life is all about thriving forward and doing things your way. Welcome to the Sussex Way Podcast. My name is Veena V. Thank you so much for listening. We're on episode 4 right now. And oh my goodness me, you are going to love this episode because we have got a mum of one. She's a lovely lady. Her name is Georgia and she is a stylist originally from Greece that relocated to the UK 6 years ago. Georgia, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So much for coming on. And I think what we're about to talk about today is going to really, it's going to be an eye-opener, I think, for a lot of people, because today we're going to talk about, obviously, with Meghan and Harry. Meghan is an American. She was born and bred over there, and then she came over to the UK. Now, I think a lot of us British people, we may not realise what a culture shock that can be to someone. Like, to be honest, I take it for granted. I just think, well, yeah, Britain is Britain. It's quite easy. You just come here, get on with everything. Like, surely we're not that different to the rest of the world. But from your experience, what has it been like settling into the UK? And yeah, just let us know about your story.
Well, it takes a while, definitely. It's not easy. Living, like relocating yourself to a different country, it's always hard, no matter the reason why you came. I always wanted to move to London. I loved it. I visited every year, but moving and living there is definitely different. And when you start like living in a new country, you realize the simple cultural differences that you might have. Like I struggled at the beginning with food, let's say. It was really hard to find food that I liked. I was going to the supermarkets and everything was ready to put in the microwave, and I didn't like that. I lost so much weight at the beginning. Then I adjusted, and now I gain weight. Not a good thing, but for a while it was good. I mean, little things like, I don't know, my favorite cheese, I couldn't find it here. Things like that were difficult.
So is a lot of it kind of, even in like you said, going to the supermarket.
Yes, exactly.
It's even though some products might be the same, you're still kind of missing your home because that's what you're used to, isn't it? Seeing a specific kind of cheese or specific kind of chocolate. So again,
That's the thing, the little things that you find like, okay, it's not a big deal now that you cannot find your favorite cheese. It's just things that you like so used to for so many years, and suddenly you just can't, like, my favorite chocolate, I couldn't find it. Even now, my mom and my dad, they send me chocolates from Greece.
Oh, that's so sweet. But you know what? Now you've brought it up. It actually, even I've been doing, sometimes when I go to, my mum and dad were born in Mauritius. So when we go over there, we literally, in our suitcase, put tea bags. Because you can't have a good cup of tea out there. And we're so used to drinking tea multiple times a day that we've got to take it in our suitcase. So, and that's, like you said, it's just these little things sometimes. And in terms of, what Meghan has gone through by coming over from America to the UK, emotionally for you, how did you adjust in terms of that, and did you have any support around you as well when you made that transition to come to the UK?
Unfortunately, no. I had a very close friend that we moved at the same time here, but because we both kind of experienced this move in a different way, like she came here and she hated everything at the beginning. She was like, I hate it, I hate this, I hate that, everything. Me, I was like, oh, I love everything here, but it was hard for me to adjust because I was doing a new beginning. I left a big career in Greece and kind of started from scratch here. The way that people was handling business, or I remember even in Greece, the way we communicate is different, even if you translate it in your head. Like we say in the UK, you say please a lot.
Yeah.
We have
Please and thank you.
Yes, yes, we're very different in a way to be kind, because we use like plural when we talk to someone who is not like we know him and we want to be kind. While here you don't have that option, so you need to like use different words. And at the beginning, people thought like I was rude or something, because I was like, yes, do it, or do this, or do that, but I didn't mean it in that way. I was like, there's little things that you don't think that when you move here, you say, yeah, I know the language, I will be fine.
Yeah.
But it's not exactly like that. It's a different way. And I found like, especially working in the UK, I found it difficult because like in Greece, we're very loud and passionate, and you kind of get when someone disagrees with you, while here, because they're so kind.
I'm laughing already because it's completely different here. We're like, nobody be nice to anyone. Nobody support anyone. Don't be happy if someone gets a job promotion. It's very much of a culture. And I don't know why this is with, I mean, not everyone is like that. I'm not like that. A lot of my friends are
Definitely.
like that.
I don't think it's a bad thing. I mean, like, I find it quite refreshing that everyone is being kind, even if they like you or not, rather than to have to be confrontational. So I found it refreshing, but it took me a while. Like, I definitely understand Meghan or whoever else, like even if you come from the States or whatever, I find when I hear people talking from the States, so different than the people that they're from the UK, even the way they speak or communicate.
And I
find it like, it definitely makes sense that it is a shock when you move to a new country, even if the language is the same.
No, definitely. And I think everything you've said is an eye-opener maybe for everyone that's listening to this right now, because again, I think we maybe take it for granted that people will understand the British culture. And as you said, you know, we say please and thank you a lot. We, you know, and even for British people, if someone comes here and they don't say thank you, I'm like, what? I'm like, excuse me.
I even find this now, like after 6 years, if someone doesn't say that to me, I'm like, yeah, thank you. It's so weird. Like now I'm like totally adjusted. Oh, I found like at the beginning, it was so weird to me that everyone was calling me like lovely and darling and hun. And I'm like, why they're calling me like that? We don't know each other. It was so hard in the beginning. I'm like, why they're talking to me like that?
But again, it's so this is just so fascinating, because even with Americans and British people, we talk the same language, but even for me,
but
a few
still,
months
it's
ago,
the way everyone talks is different.
yeah, and a few months ago I went to this conference and there were a lot of American people there, and when I was talking, they were looking, and again, it's the very simple things like I said, okay, we'll meet back here at 5:30. And they looked at me and they're like, what's 5:30? And I was like, 5:30. And they're like, oh, you could have just said 5:30. And I was like, well, it's the same thing. So it's very interesting, isn't it? That we all, especially, like I said, people that do speak English, it is very, the differences are still fascinating. I really
even find it in style-wise, because because I do a lot of online sessions. So I've worked with American clients, and they're so different with the UK ones. It was a shock to me at the beginning. Like I couldn't really relate. Like they're even style-wise, they're different than UK. UK are more fashion forward and more trend oriented, while in the UK they're more the US more casual, more relaxed. So even in my business, I found it like really hard to work with these two countries, even though they're speaking the same language. So I think every country has their own like things that we don't realize. They're small things, but they are kind of a shock for someone who relocates.
No, definitely. And I know with, you know, your story isn't just, you know, you came to the UK and you managed to kind of get used to the British culture. You obviously met someone here as well, and then you had a gorgeous baby with them as well. In terms of that, was this a British person or someone from another
No, from another country, French Algerian, so quite a mix.
So again, that must have been, so you're now got 3 cultures in one, because you've got the British where you've met, and you've got the Algerian side and your Greek side. Again, when you're, and this is again, it's what, even though Harry and Meghan, they talk the same language, America and Britain, you could say there's lots of similarities, but it's still difficult, isn't it? There must be a lot of conflict sometimes on just very simple things, because you're trying to merge 3 cultures in one. Then how did you find that
I think the hardest part is when we start living together, when you realize those small things that before you didn't. We were from a different religion background, really hard to kind of, it doesn't matter how respectful you are for someone else's religion. It's hard when you don't understand it, because you believe in something else. So it's so hard, and it's even harder when you try to raise a child. So there's a conflict there, and it was really hard. It's hard to adjust. I cannot, well, obviously, because we're not together anymore, I cannot really say how to make it work. But for me, I realized, even though at the beginning I was so open and like, we can make it work. We're in love. We love each other. Why not? But then the things that you grew up with and your values and the way you see life, it's so different. So it kind of started, especially when a child comes in and you realize that you want the way that you brought up to kind of pass it on your child, and there's a conflict there, because like there are different things and different issues, from food, from everything, like, we eat this way, I eat that way, we cook this way, I cook this way. It's really hard to adjust.
Exactly.
Especially when a child comes in, when things are pressured anyway. So imagine like double the pressure on a couple.
That's a very real life subject, which again, for whatever reason, a lot of people don't want to talk about, because it's one of these real life taboo subjects that is really difficult. And Georgia, I'm in the same position to you, where I'm not with my son's father anymore, and he's a different religion to me. I don't have a religion, and he is a Muslim. So now we've got a child together. It's like, what way are you raising the child? Because I can't raise my son as a Muslim, because I'm not a Muslim. I
totally relate.
So it's what you said before is that as women, if men are listening to this, you've got to be so respectful to your partner and try and work it out. And of course there's going to be these conflicts and loads of major challenges, because you both got brought up in completely different cultures and completely different ways. And it is difficult, isn't it, when you are trying to raise your child just in a positive environment. It can be difficult when
you really need to be open-minded. That's the lesson I've learned. Like, even though you say you're open-minded, when it comes to living with someone who's so different, you really need to let your guards down and see the other one's point of view. It's not easy. I couldn't make it, obviously, but I think it's really hard. It's not like, and even like for Meghan and Harry, I totally get that she comes into the royal family, which has so many protocols. It's kind of like their own religion, really. So you have to deal with all of that. It's really hard, and especially when a child comes in, when you already have a big pressure. When I really believe, like, it's an amazing experience having a child, but it's also very hard, and no one says that before, and it gets really difficult. Everyone says, "Oh, how amazing!" and then they'll tell you, this is going to be the most difficult job you ever had.
No, it's so true. And this is the thing, and I'm trying to break that taboo. I don't want to scare people off having a child, but it is, of course not, so difficult. It is like you just said, it's the most difficult job. It's very challenging. Of course, it's rewarding, but I think as well, I don't know if you are Georgia, but being a single mum as well, that just has an added pressure of you've just got to do everything, and it's blimmin' difficult. It's difficult on a daily basis. So
It
I
is.
think me and you will break that taboo a little bit, and we won't put people off having children, but we're just going to tell them the truth. We're going to tell
No,
them.
that's the thing. Yeah, just be prepared. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Like, be prepared that this is going to be a hard thing. But yeah, that's the thing. We have the expectations that we see in the movies, like the baby comes out and we're all a happy family and we go home and it's all a bliss. But I think the expectations shouldn't be that high. Like, yes, you're going to
No,
have a baby and
exactly.
of course you're going to fall in love with it, but expect it to be hard, not to expect, like, I don't know, everything will be a rose garden or whatever.
You have some
That's
moments like that, but majority
Yes, of
of them.
course you do, of course you do, but just don't expect that it's going to be a Hollywood movie. It is hard.
And what you were saying about kind of, there's loads of protocols and routines and, whatever word you want to call it within the royal family.
Of
If you
course.
think about it, I think everyone up until Meghan, I still don't know how Kate and everyone else before Diana and everyone did it, where you have just had a baby. You have just had a baby, and then you're expected to go on the steps of the hospital, look lovely, wear a beautiful dress, and wave to people. I look at those images and I think, I think I was crying after I gave birth. I looked like I'd been pushed through a bush. Like, the last thing I would want to do is go on the steps of a hospital. And again, I think Meghan got a lot of flack, didn't she, for not wanting to do that. But why can't she do things differently in her way? Because again, nobody knows how she feels, do we? Nobody knows what's really
Well, definitely. I think that's the thing, that everyone has their own perspective. Like, I understand that if I was like Kate, and yeah, 3 makeup people and someone, a hairdresser, and maybe will dress me up and do the makeup and everything, I might go out there. Like, it won't be a fuss. But for other people, it might be really overwhelming. Like, oh my God, I don't want anyone to take a picture of me. So every person is different. And I think, yeah, Kate adjusted to the royal life for whatever reasons. She had a different personality than Meghan, and it's fine. But I really think that we keep saying that for Meghan or Kate. I think Harry has the hard time as well with royal family, or always had. And I think now, because he has a family, that kind of escalated. It's not only about Meghan. I think
so
he has a hard time as well. And as a couple, they kind of relate to each other with it in that way.
And that's such a great point, because even with having a baby, it doesn't just affect the woman. I mean, some dads can actually get depression after as well, because they don't know. I mean, one of my very close friends, for the first few weeks of his baby being born, he really, really struggled with it. And it is my kind of worry that some dads, they don't have anyone to talk to, because they think, oh, my wife, gave birth. Everyone needs to be supporting her. But I think the dads, sometimes they do get left out of the talk and the equation of that, don't they?
Yes, it's a huge change for both of them. For every couple, it's a huge change. Like, even for the simple thing, going out the door is not simple anymore.
No,
Going out the door is not simple anymore. So it affects both of you. It doesn't only affect the mom, it affects both. So I really do, like, yeah, because for Meghan was the foreigner and she came in and all of this happened. But I really think that Harry was into it, even more into it than her. I think, yeah, and we have seen his resentment through time. And especially now that he has a family that he feels that he needs to protect, I think that's why things escalated in this, and we have this result now. I don't know how it will work for them, to be honest.
We just have to wish them well. And they're doing things. This is, the whole inspiration for this podcast as well, is always just do things your way. It may go against society, it may go against traditions, but you've got to be happy at the end of the day, don't you? And we've all...
But definitely, like, if I see it, I think because I'm from a culture, we don't have royals, and we kind of like throw them out, I don't know, a long time ago. So yeah, I'm coming from a culture that we don't understand why like a country needs to have a royal family. But while I came here, I kind of understand that this is a brand and it works for as an ambassador of the country, brings tourism and works for charity. So I think it's a kind of a job, you can say.
Oh, I have a good question. I've always wanted to ask someone this question that has actually moved from another country to England. If we didn't have the royal family, would have you still come to the UK? And you said before you visited every year, or
I don't think that was one of the reasons that I moved or I wouldn't move. It was just an interesting topic to discuss at work. Other than that, I remember when I was doing English lessons in Greece, and we had an English teacher. He moved to Greece and he was doing lessons, and we were like making fun of the Queen or something. Like we thought it was something funny, and we said, probably you all hate her, and he was like, no, we love the Queen. And I was in shock. I still remember it so many years ago. That, what do you mean you love the Queen? So yes, for me, it was really strange when I came here and everyone really loves the family. So I think it's just, it's the way you see it. So I guess William and Kate saw it like, look, we're going to make a difference with our job, with our charity, with whatever. And maybe Harry and Meghan saw the negative side of it. It has to do with perception, I think. And it's not a bad thing to look at it in another way, though. It's like, no, we don't want to go through all this. We can do it in another way. That's fine.
And why can't things change? We don't always have to do things the same way. Experiment, adapt your life, and go and do what you want. We're going to end on this. Okay, Georgia, I want you to give maybe just some very short, quick fire tips to anyone listening to this right now who is thinking about relocating to the UK. What would be your kind of advice to them coming to a different culture? Well, especially the British way we do things here.
Well, I love the UK quite a lot. So I'm not like, I've seen like friends of mine who kind of adjusted really hard. It took them a while. Like for me, it was like, London rocks and I will rock with it. Oh. Well, yes, don't expect it will happen in a month that you're here. It's really hard. Life is hard. It's more expensive. The culture is different, not different, like so different. We're all from Europe and we're not all from the West. It's not that big of a culture like East and West that they're so different. But still, there are cultural differences. I think the key is to be open-minded. If you're not open-minded, it's really hard to relocate anywhere, really. It doesn't have to do with the UK, because otherwise you won't understand what's going on around you. You won't understand the people, what they're telling you. So if you're not open-minded, it's really hard. So I think that's the key. Like when you open your mind and you see, it's just not the way they're doing it and it's fine, and respect that. So I think that's, I would say, the major advice that I would give to someone. It would be open-minded. Like, don't expect to be everything like your way. It can be in another way.
Brilliant. That is brilliant advice. Georgia, where can we find out more about you? Because I know you've got a blog, haven't you, called Stylist Mummy?
Yes, I have a website which is called Stylish Mummy, where I offer my personal styling services. And I also have a blog which is, you can find it through my website, but also separately it's called Big Fashion Talk. And I talk about fashion and beauty and a bit of mom life, of course, since my daughter. So if you want to have a look,
Oh, well, thank you so much for coming on this podcast. It's been lovely. Lovely, Georgia. It's been amazing talking to you. So thank you so much. This was the
Thank you so much for having me. It was really an interesting conversation. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. And thank you to you for listening. If you have not subscribed yet, make sure you do. If you look at wherever you're listening to this podcast right now, there should be a subscribe button or a follow button. Just make sure you hit that thing, hit the button so you can subscribe and get notified about all the new and exciting episodes that we have coming up. And oh my goodness me, there is lots on the way. Our next episode is all about depression. We've also got tips for dating younger guys coming up. We've got branding and PR advice for Meghan and Harry. So much on the way, so make sure you subscribe to get notified of all those exciting new episodes. And don't forget, if you want to thrive in life, go and download our free guide. Just go to veenav.com/Sussex. So that's VEENAV.com/Sussex, SUSSEX, to get your hands on that Thrive Guide, because life is all about thriving forward. It's about becoming a happiness hustler and doing things your way. This is the Sussex Way Podcast.
Are you ready to thrive?
Be sure to join us next time